If you've ever seen Pretty Woman, then you know Richard Gere, the man with a gaze that needed no dialogue, a smile that never felt forced, and a presence so still it could quiet an entire screen. For over 3 decades, he was the gold standard of elegance, not just in film, but in life. And then, just as Hollywood was still calling his name, Richard Gere vanished. He turned down. Blockbusters walked away from red carpets, disappeared from the spotlight. Why? What made a star at the height of fame choose silence? Choose to walk away from the very thing millions dream of? Was it a single sentence that got him banned from the Oscars for 20 years? Was it the strangely beautiful romances always ending in quiet goodbyes? Or was it something deeper, something that meant he never truly belonged to that world in the first place? And then there's the third reason, the one no one saw coming. The woman who completely transformed Richard Gere's life had a most unexpected background. This is the story you haven't fully heard of Richard Gere, a man who spent his entire life searching for a way to be himself even when the cost was everything. Early life. Richard Tiffany Gere was born on August 31, St. 1949, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the second of 5 children. His father, Homer Gere, was an insurance salesman, while his mother, Doris, was a homemaker. When Richard was still young, the family moved to upstate New York, where he grew up in the quintessential American middle-class environment of the 1950s, disciplined, frugal, and education-oriented. Richard Gere's childhood was not marked by noise or drama, but quietly nurtured a sensitive soul and a nimble intellect. At North Syracuse Central High School, he quickly stood out for his many talents. Gere played several instruments, piano, guitar, bass, and trumpet, composed music for school musicals, and was actively involved in the student council. He was also an athlete, excelling in lacrosse and gymnastics, which earned him a sports scholarship for college. In 1967, Gere enrolled at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, majoring in philosophy. However, after 2 years, he made the decision to drop out and pursue the arts, first music, then quickly shifting toward theater and acting. It was a choice that defied his family's expectations, but reflected a lifelong principle to not live according to others' standards, but to follow a path of his own choosing. This blend of philosophical thinking, athletic discipline, and musical emotion formed a unique personal foundation, one that allowed him to enter the world of performance with a deeper inner perspective than most of his peers. Early career. In 1973, Richard Gere officially left college and entered the world of performance through the stage. He landed the lead role in the London production of the hit rock musical Grease. Playing Danny Zuko not only brought him to the West End stage, but also marked the first time audiences recognized a performer who could sing, act, and command the stage with a distinctive presence, thanks in part to his strong musical background from high school, where he had composed and played multiple instruments. In the following years, Gere continued honing his craft through various productions, notably Taming of the Shrew, where he tested his skill with Shakespeare and Bent, a bold play about homosexual love in a concentration camp, reflecting his artistic daring even in the early stages of his career. His first break in film came in 1977 with a supporting role in Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Though the part was small, his rugged, slightly dangerous, and magnetic screen presence caught the eye of directors. A year later, he was cast in the lead role of Days of Heaven, 1978, a film by Terrence Malick, widely regarded as a cinematic masterpiece for its stunning visuals and slow, poetic rhythm. Despite having very little dialogue, Gere's eyes and quiet presence left a lasting impression. The peak of his early career came in 1980, when he starred in American Gigolo, a film that stirred controversy but also pushed Richard Gere closer to true stardom. His character, Julian Kay, an upscale male escort, was both dangerous and seductive, yet psychologically complex, helping redefine the Hollywood sex symbol of the early 1980s. Masculine, mysterious, and subtly tormented. The blend of stage discipline and cinematic instinct allowed Richard Gere to carve out a path of his own, quiet but deliberate. He didn't need blockbusters or over-the-top performances. Just one look, one glance, and the audience knew this was a character they wouldn't forget. Career success. 2 years later, An Officer and a Gentleman, 1982, turned a star into a legend. The role of Officer Zach Mayo gave Gere the chance to showcase deep emotional range. A man scarred, stubborn, but willing to change for love and honor. The scene where he carries Deborah Winger out of the factory amid clapping hands and astonished gazes became one of the most iconic moments in cinema history. The film was not only a box office triumph, but also earned 2 Oscars, solidifying Richard Gere's place as a new era emotional symbol. But the true pinnacle came when he met Julia Roberts. Pretty Woman, 1990. The fairy tale of a cold businessman and a vivacious sex worker could have easily slipped into B movie territory, if not for the chemical magic between its 2 leads. Gere didn't try to be charming, he just sat there, watched in silence, and let Julia laugh. The film's overwhelming success, over $460 million worldwide, didn't just turn Julia into Hollywood's new sweetheart. It placed Richard Gere firmly among the most beloved romantic leads of all time. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, he continued to solidify his standing with a series of successful films. Runaway Bride, 1999, marked a triumphant reunion with Julia Roberts. Chicago, 2002, won him a Golden Globe and helped the film take home the Oscar for Best Picture. Shall We Dance, 2004, revealed a more charming, down-to-earth Gere as a middle-aged husband rediscovering his passion for life. And Arbitrage, 2012, proved his dramatic depth, portraying a successful CEO torn between morality and ambition. No scandals, no chasing superheroes or CGI blockbusters. Gere sustained his star power not by clinging to it, but by allowing it to mature with time. For 3 decades, he remained one of Hollywood's most consistently magnetic and irreplaceable actors. Each appearance revealed a new version of him, more mature, more reserved, yet just as captivating. Because the most alluring thing about Richard Gere was never his face, but the life experience hidden behind that smile. Personal life success came early. Fame was dazzling, and with one of the most captivating faces in Hollywood, Richard Gere naturally became the ideal man in the eyes of millions of women. But that very image also made his private life a prime target for the press. And while on screen, he was the perfect lover in real life, Richard Gere was an enigma, complex, layered, and not easily understood. Richard Gere's first serious relationship began in 1971 with coming-home actress Penelope Milford. 7 quiet, unpublicized years together were enough for Penelope to witness his entire journey from obscurity to recognition. They shared a modest apartment in New York, weathering career struggles and self-doubt side by side. By the late 70s, after their breakup, Gere entered a phase of rising fame, and his relationships became shorter. Among them was Tuesday Weld, an independent film star who once warned him, "Fame will swallow your emotions." Then came Barbara Carrera, the Nicaraguan actress who appeared alongside him just as American Gigolo was turning him into Hollywood's newest sex symbol. None of these relationships were confirmed, but in those days, just standing next to him was enough for any woman to be scrutinized. But the longest and most meaningful relationship during that period came from a name the public barely noticed. Sylvia Martins, a Brazilian painter. They were together for nearly a decade, from 1978 to 1986. The very years Gere rose to superstardom, yet also began turning inward, searching for an identity beyond that of a sex symbol. Sylvia was more than a partner. She was a spiritual companion, traveling with him to Tibet, attending meditation retreats, and standing by him during quiet moments of soul-arcing as he asked himself, "Who am I without the spotlight?" As his spiritual journey began, Gere gradually stepped away from his former relationships quietly, without scandal. They never became tabloid fodder, but left behind something far more lasting, a sense of intimacy that was deep, real, and not easily erased. Right in the midst of that existential turning point, a woman entered his life. Not a rising star, but a true icon, Barbara Streisand. Rumors about them spread in the early 1980s, just as Gere had become a fresh sex symbol with American Gigolo, and Streisand was already the untouchable queen of Hollywood with an Oscar, Grammy, Emmy, and total control over her image. One had just touched fame's peak. The other had lived in it for decades. The press called it a collision of galaxies. What surprised the public wasn't just the 6-year age gap, but the rumor that Barbara had pursued Gere. Neither ever confirmed it, but the glances on red carpets, the secretly snapped private meetings, and the long silences from both sides only deepened the intrigue. One was drawn to bold charisma, the other impressed by uncompromising independence. But in the end, their differences in lifestyle and status pulled them apart. Gere needed solitude to find his essence. Streisand was born for the spotlight. He stepped away not out of lack of love, but because he wasn't ready to live in a world he couldn't control. That relationship ended quietly, but it left a lingering question about Richard Gere behind that cool exterior. Was he seeking a kind of love that didn't need to shine, only to run deep enough to help him escape himself? After Barbara, a long list of rumored names confirmed his enduring appeal. Priscilla Presley. Elvis's widow was once seen with Gere in Los Angeles. Lori Rodkin. Kim Basinger, Tina Chow. Delilah Diazro and Laura Bailey were also mentioned. These brief encounters hinted at a period where Gere wasn't ready for permanence. But for Gere, they were likely unforgettable memories, even if he never spoke of them. After a string of fleeting romances, many inflated by the media, Richard Gere entered what was at the time his most serious and long-term relationship with a woman. 17 years his junior, but no less dazzling in fame, Cindy Crawford. The world once called them the golden couple of the 1990s. A 22-year-old supermodel, fresh off Global magazine covers. A 39-year-old movie star, riding the glow of Pretty Woman. When Richard Gere met Cindy Crawford in 1988 at a backyard barbecue hosted by photographer Herb Ritz, no one imagined that chance meeting would spark a love story that shook pop culture. 3 years later, they married in a quiet Las Vegas ceremony. No lavish gown, no Hollywood guest list, just 2 wedding rings made from aluminum foil. From 1991 to 1995, Gere and Crawford appeared as the perfect couple at major events, peaking at the 1991 Oscars, where the world seemed to freeze at the sight of Cindy's icy beauty and Gere's rugged elegance. But behind the flashbulbs came a flood of rumors that theirs was a show marriage, that Gere was gay, that Crawford never truly loved him. The public pressure climaxed in 1994, when the couple spent $30,000 on a full-page ad in the Times of London to refute the gossip. They wrote, "We are heterosexual, monogamous, and deeply committed to each other. We are not and never have been planning to divorce. We are happy and looking forward to building a family." The ad went on to list the humanitarian causes they supported together, from human rights and AIDS research to LGBTQ+ rights, ending with a plea: be honest, responsible, and kind. Still, the reality behind the scenes wasn't so simple. In an August 1994 interview with Vanity Fair, Crawford revealed that it was Gere who suggested the ad because he couldn't stand being seen as a liar. At 28, she had started asking herself, "Who am I in this relationship? I've changed so much to become the woman he needs, but am I still myself?" Gere didn't deny the truth either. Years later, he admitted, "I loved someone who didn't yet know who she was, and I hoped love would help her settle. That was an unfair expectation." The couple divorced in 1995. No scandal, no property battles. At the time, Cindy was on a journey to rediscover herself, while Richard had long been used to bearing the weight of public scrutiny. She later confessed on Oprah's Masterclass in 2013. "At 22, I was still figuring myself out. But doing that in a marriage next to a man who was already fully formed was incredibly hard. After the divorce, both moved on quietly. Gere sought peace. Crawford married businessman Randa Gerber and had 2 children. But for audiences, that image of Richard Gere and Cindy Crawford on the 1991 red carpet, silently holding hands, remains one of Hollywood's immortal moments. Before the echoes of that marriage had fully faded, Richard Gere once again faced a new definition of love. Not loud or flashy, but steady like a quiet flame warming a long road. In 1995, he met Carrie Lell, a former model actress, one-time Bond girl, and familiar face to TV audiences from Law and Order. Unlike his previous relationships painted in the glitz of Hollywood, Carrie entered Gere's life as a companion, quiet, enduring, and so close it felt impossible to part. 7 years later, after the birth of their son Homer, James Jigmar, the couple officially married in 2002. They lived on a peaceful farm where Richard grew organic vegetables, read Buddhist texts, and only accepted roles with spiritual depth. To the outside world, it seemed he had finally found a true home, a life that was slow, steady, and whole. But not everything quiet is peaceful. Carrie, with the instincts of someone who had once walked confidently through crowds and social scenes, began to feel out of place. While Gere withdrew into his inner world, spending hours in meditation, seeking stillness, Carrie longed for real-world connection, for communication, for genuine closeness. There was no fighting, no betrayal, just 2 people being ruthlessly honest about who they truly were, and slowly drifting out of sync with each other's rhythm. In the end, in 2013, after 18 years together, they separated. But what shocked the public wasn't the announcement of their split. It was the quiet legal battle that dragged on for nearly 3 years, with a $100 million fortune placed on the table. Gere, the man long regarded as the embodiment of composure, began appearing in court with a tense expression, once even photographed pointing a sharply tipped black umbrella at a photographer like a sudden slash across the peaceful image of the gentle Buddhist he had cultivated for decades. He could no longer hide the strain in his eyes. Carrie remained in their $4.5 million Bedford home, citing care for their son. But beneath that lay a silent yet fierce tug-of-war over space, over emotions, over trust that had been wounded. Gere quietly removed Carrie's photo from charity flyers. Lell stood firm. They no longer wanted to say anything to each other. A close friend once said, "No one betrayed anyone. They just stopped understanding each other even while living under the same roof." Eventually, they reached a settlement. Carrie didn't receive the full $100 million she had initially demanded, but the matter ended in silence, just as the love had once begun. After ending his 18-year marriage with Carrie Lell, Richard Gere entered a more private phase. In 2014, he began dating Padma Lakshmi, host of Top Chef, who was also healing from a turbulent divorce. The relationship unfolded quietly. No public statements, no joint appearances at events. Both kept their private lives guarded, as if trying to protect something still fragile. However, after 6 months, they parted ways. No drama, no clashes. The reason was said to be differences in lifestyle and emotional needs. While Gere was becoming increasingly introspective and drawn to a quiet life, Lakshmi remained deeply engaged in media and social circles. In 2014, Richard Gere reconnected with Alejandra Silva at her family's hotel in Positano, Italy. They had known each other years earlier through family friends. At the time, Alejandra had just gone through a divorce and was living in Italy with her son, while Richard was also emerging from a difficult post-divorce chapter. He began sending her flowers and handwritten letters every day, not to win her over, but to say he was ready to walk alongside her if she would let him. Alejandra hesitated due to their 33-year age gap, but Richard didn't rush, didn't push. They lived on different continents, yet never let more than 20 days pass without seeing each other. Eventually, she decided to move to New York to live with Richard, when they were neighbors with Martha Stewart. Stewart once gifted the Gere family a tall caramel cake, the recipe for which Richard later asked for after seeing it featured on television. In April 2018, they held a private Buddhist ceremony at Richard's estate in Pound Ridge, New York, attended by Tibetan monks. A month later, they hosted a small wedding celebration on Cinco de Mayo. Alejandra wore 2 custom-designed dresses. She didn't appear as the wife of a star, but as an experienced, independent woman starting a new chapter of her life. Their family includes 3 children. Albert, Alejandra's son from her previous marriage, to billionaire Govern Alexander, their first son, born in 2019, and James, their youngest, born in 2020. The family also includes Homer Richards' adult son from his previous marriage. Alejandra does not tie herself to the entertainment industry. She runs Rice Fundian, a nonprofit aimed at eradicating homelessness in Spain. In 2015, she revealed she had slept on the street to understand the reality of the homeless, stating, "If I do something, I give it everything. If I can't, I won't do it at all." She was raised in Madrid's upper class, educated at elite private schools, and had close ties with many Real Madrid footballers, including Roberto Carlos, whom she once dated. But what made her choose Richard was empathy, shared values, and the way he truly devoted time to both his family and humanitarian work. Together, they've supported many charitable initiatives, including the 2017 benefit screening of The Dinner. Alejandra says what she treasures most in Richard is his humanity. She joined Richard and his son Homer at the Cannes Film Festival in 2024 for the premiere of O Canada. That same year in Venice, Richard bowed to his wife, a gesture of deep respect between 2 people who have walked a long road together. For Richard's 75th birthday, Alejandra wrote, "After 11 years together, it still feels like day one. The life we've built, the memories we've shared, it's more than I ever imagined." On her first Father's Day in Spain, she wrote to him, "Happy Father's Day to the father of the world." Speaking to Ellis Espina in early 2025, Richard said simply, "We are happier than ever. My wife is someone who lives with deep gratitude, no spotlight. They choose to be together because they feel enough. Enough respect, enough patience, enough to keep going." Love helped him find peace. But Richard Gere's career wasn't always so serene, and one moment no one has forgotten. The fateful night of the Oscars, 1993. Richard Gere was never the type to stay silent. While many Hollywood stars chose to steer clear of politics to keep their careers clean, he did the opposite. During the live broadcast of the 1993 Academy Awards, while presenting the award for Best Art Direction, Gere unexpectedly deviated from the script to speak out on human rights in China, particularly the situation in Tibet. "I send love, truth, and a little sanity to Deng Xiaoying. Would you consider withdrawing all your troops from Tibet and letting those people live freely?" he said boldly in front of over 1 billion viewers worldwide. The room fell silent. Not long after, Gere was banned from attending or presenting at any part of the Oscars for over 2 decades. And it wasn't just a symbolic ban. It marked the beginning of Richard Gere's gradual exclusion from the mainstream film industry. In a later interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he admitted, "I used to have movies released globally. Then suddenly, no major studio wanted to work with me anymore. No one said it outright, but everyone knew why." Hollywood studios had become increasingly reliant on the Chinese market, where government criticism is heavily censored. Gere wasn't just blacklisted. The films he appeared in were also denied distribution, causing his career to quietly slide out of the mainstream spotlight. Years later, at the 20,125 Oscars, host Conan O'Brien even joked about the very incident in Mandarin, no less, during the live broadcast. "I'm drowning in debt. Please consider casting me in one of your many movies." That seemingly harmless joke once again reminded audiences of Richard Gere, the man who sacrificed his spotlight to stand by his convictions. He once told Huffist, "It seems that if you stay long enough, they forget they ever banned you." But was that forgiveness, or just Hollywood's selective silence? Can a single statement destroy a star's entire career, even when no laws were broken, no scandals committed? That question remains unanswered. But Richard Gere continues to live by the beliefs he once voiced. And while many choose safety, he chose freedom. The cost an entire career stalled. And then, with his wounds from Hollywood still unhealed, a single kiss would ignite a firestorm of rage. In 2007, Richard Gere traveled to New Delhi to attend an HIV/AIDS awareness event. On stage, in front of thousands, he embraced actress Shilpa Shetty, the Big Brother UK winner, and kissed her on the cheek several times as a friendly and Hollywood-style gesture. But the reaction was far from what he expected. Numerous nationalist and conservative groups in India erupted in outrage. They called the act disrespectful to Indian women, an insult to traditional culture, and offensive to public decency. Images of Gere were burned in the streets. Posters were stomped on. And more than that, a state court issued a warrant for Richard Gere's arrest on charges of public obscenity. Even Shilpa Shetty, who was clearly the one being kissed, was taken to court. It wasn't until 2008 that India's Supreme Court dismissed the charges as baseless and revoked the warrant. But for Shilpa, full exoneration didn't come until 2022, a full 15 years later. When asked by the media about the incident, Gere simply replied, "I kissed her on the cheek." In the US, that's a polite gesture. In India, I learned a different lesson. As Hollywood gradually turned its back, Richard Gere didn't respond with lawsuits or media counterattacks. He gave no interviews, made no effort to reclaim his spotlight, and blamed no one. Instead, he withdrew deliberately. During that time, he devoted himself to meditation, long hikes, and a quiet life in the countryside of Pound Ridge, New York. In one of his rare public appearances, Gere said, "If you stay quiet long enough, you'll hear what you need to hear." No longer favored by major studios, he turned to independent film Time Out of Mind, 2014, in which he played a homeless man disconnected from society, echoed the very psychological state he was experiencing. Cast out of the system, but not stripped of essence. These roles didn't bring box office success, but they gave him the space to create art on his own terms, free from commercial expectations. Beyond film, he continued his humanitarian work, a part of him that could never be separated. Gere quietly funded human rights organizations, medical relief efforts in Africa, and most notably, aid for the Tibetan people. But he avoided any form of self-congratulation. No press conferences, no award galas. What he did, in his words, was to keep myself from being consumed by meaninglessness. At an age when many choose to indulge, he learned to simplify. Vegan meals daily practice meditation, not to live longer, but to live more consciously. His acting career may have been interrupted, but his life was not. Richard Gere didn't lose his stature. He simply changed the way he existed. And that transformation was perhaps the most fitting choice for a man who has spent his whole life trying to keep his mind still. In a world constantly moving for reasons that too often mean nothing at all, legacy and influence, Richard Gere is not just the face of a cinematic era. He is proof that a leading man can endure, evolve, and influence without sacrificing integrity. In Hollywood, a place that often worships youth and noise, Gere took the opposite route, choosing fewer roles, living quietly, and speaking the truths others avoided.